You're listening to Spainfully Honest, the podcast where me, Paul,
and me, Catherine, talk about what it's really like living in Spain.
each week we'll share stories, tips, and honest conversations about daily life here in Spain.
Whether you live in Spain, you're thinking about moving, or you just want to know a little bit more, you're in the right place.
So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's get Spainfully Honest.
Good morning, and welcome to episode 17.
17. I don't know how to say it, but 17.
I can't believe we've done so many episodes.
Very good.
Very good. Today, well, we're talking about a bit of a difficult subject, something that I guess people don't talk about so much, but unfortunately, it's one of those things that happens to everybody. So today we're talking about, well, palliative care in Spain and what happens when you pass away in Spain.
Dying. We're talking about dying today in Spain. Because it might happen to a lot of us, especially if lots of people come to retire.
Well, that's it. When you come to retire in Spain, I guess you are inevitably saying, well, you're here for the rest of your life. So I guess then that means that you will probably pass away in Spain.
Yeah.
I guess.
So yes. Well, you're not really your problem if you do, it?
Yeah.
Other people's problem. So yes, that's what we're here to talk about today. Yeah.
So we've got Sue with us again today.
Yeah. My mummy again.
After the success of her last episode talking about retiring in Spain, we thought we would get a first-person experience of what happens when someone close to you passes away in Spain. Before we kind of get into it, because it's going to be a bit of a difficult one, I guess, how is your week, Paul?
Well, I nearly died this morning, to be honest, because I had to go to the bank. And anybody that has to go and visit the bank will know it's probably preferable to die sometime. And that's what it felt like this morning. So I'm not going to name the bank or shame them, but yeah, it was a pretty wonderful experience. But I have more information. During this week, I have become a hippie.
Go for it. How are you?
Yeah, I'm now well into manzanilla, or chamomile, as we call it here. It is the future.
You think you're a hippie because you have...
Oh, I must be. Eating flowers. What can be more hippie than eating flowers?
I'll be wearing them.
Well, but eating them. That is the ultimate hippiness.
Oh, it's here, sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember it.
Your
It would be
goatee.
difficult. It'd have to be like Velcroed flowers. Yeah, but I know I've become a convert. I'm a chamomile convert.
Yeah.
Manzanilla.
Well,
I
then
got
wait.
some at the market.
Might be a long time then.
Yeah, I got some at the market in Burias, which is worth going to for anybody.
Oh, yeah, I saw your post.
And they have this like herbs, spices, teas stall. It's a great big thing. Really cheap as well. Big bag everyone's in. And like when you see it in a tea bag, it's all just like really little bits. These were like dandelion eggs. They were massive. They were enormous.
Yeah, I got one before. You can see like the proper flower.
Anyway, so because I read about it, I get indigestion if I eat bread or pasta in the evening. Really bad. I mean, I literally like a rennie, like 2 rennies every night, or the equivalent, the Spanish equivalent. Anyway, so I was thinking there must be a better way of doing this. And also here, the price of the rennie equivalent is a lot of money. So I think it's about £6. The cheapest I could find was £6 from Amazon. Anyway, so I thought, I'll try it. What's the point?
Goes back to England and brings him.
Yeah, bringing me rennies because they're cheaper. Anyway, so I thought, I'm going to try this. So I did. And I've done it 2 nights running now. And I had pasta one night and I had garlic bread the other night. Not a single bit of indigestion.
Wow.
I've tested it. I'm a convert.
There you go.
Love it.
I have it just for sleep. You know, because I'm like a tea addict. You know, so then it's like just to give myself something else so that I'm not keeping myself.
Well, when I read
awake.
it said that it's for sleeping as well. To be honest with you, that bit I'm worked. I don't feel like it's worked.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it sends it off, but I think it just
Like relaxes
you a little bit.
But honestly, the difference, I mean, 100%. I mean, I always know, I don't know if it's psychological, but I know like 2 in the morning, I get up and take 2 rennies.
Really?
And like I had 2 nights running now, and nothing. I'm absolutely brilliant. So there you go. Try it. I'll try it for next week. I'll see. It's still working. I'm convert.
You could eat less pasta. Garlic bread, I suppose.
You could live with less pasta.
No, if you can drink Ranzan, drink Ranzan here.
Life is pasta. I love pasta.
Yeah, so yeah, so I'm a hippie now. So I'm going to try them all.
Hippie. I don't know what you're not. I thought I say you were like, hey, I'm singing it on the street or something. What do hippies do? Write poetry.
Yeah, like
chamomile
I don't think I'm going to do that. Drinking chamomile tea and eating these massive flowers. There you go. Right.
I'm such
So that's what's happened to me. Off in the bank.
Kick it off, so.
Right, mummy.
Oh,
This is going to be quite a difficult one, I think, but it's so important, and it is something that, it's difficult enough when you're in your own country,
Yeah.
but to have to do it in a foreign country.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is to do with even more so than being, back at home would be, you need to talk about it now and talk about it to your family, your children, obviously your partner, and talk about it while it's all right to talk about. I find that with my kids. I've done a will, because if something changes, you need to change your will. And so, sold a house, bought a house, changing the will and things. But I also feel really nervous mentioning it in case they think something's wrong with it, and so that's saying, no, there's nothing wrong, it's just because of the house, you need to change the will. So, you need to be talking about it.
Yeah.
Talk about it now. So we're going to make you talk about it now. So if you're watching this, you can talk. Or at least think about it.
Yeah.
Well,
So
honestly.
start thinking about, what would I do in Spain? And, because there are differences about, especially the UK and Spain.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's quite straightforward here. As far as, there are, we'll talk about it now, but there are routes that you go down that are fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
The thing to remember here, though, and this is probably, I know you're going to talk about it more probably, but the biggest difference here is how fast it happens after the death.
That's what I was going to launch into, but I didn't know if you had it somewhere in the questions. But that'll be probably the main difference, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I think it's to do with heat. Everything comes down to the weather, but I think it's to do with
We could
heat
watch that now.
originally, anyway.
yeah, originally, yeah.
So, right.
Okay, cool. So, Sue, you came to Spain 20 years ago. And if you want to listen to more of Sue's story, you can go to listen to our Retiring in Spain episode, where Sue tells us everything that she's done before now.
Everything. I mean, it's a long one. So, get yourself comfortable, get a few drinks, feed the dog, the cat for a couple of days. Yeah, put the slow cooker on, because, it could be a while.
Well, Sue's story is there.
It's not long this one. I promise.
But just to go more into the topic, so had you had any discussions with Roy, your husband, and Paul's dad about your time later in life before you came to Spain?
No, not really, honestly. We actually came to Spain with the intention of working again, because although we were of sort of retirement age, pensionable age, just about. Our intention really was to maybe work part-time, because we felt a bit young really to be stopping work. So to be honest, we had more conversations about what we might do. I was thinking it might be the driving school. I was thinking I might teach English as a second language. It was never really something that we considered, honestly, I'm honest. Though our intention was to come out to Spain and stay here till we died.
Yeah.
We weren't planning on going back.
I suppose it's slightly different because we were here.
Yes.
So if two parents were coming out and the kids were still, growing up, not living in the UK, it's slightly different then, isn't it? Saying, the other side was us, aren't you? Your parents are here as well. So I suppose that makes it slightly different.
And we're both only children. I
Yeah.
sometimes worry about it a little bit just because I don't really know what to do.
Yeah.
I'll have to do everything on my own, same as you.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, Paul was here and his family, and my nephew moved out not much later, really. Jane, my daughter-in-law's mum and dad were here. So it was more about, we'll have a big family all out here, rather than actually thinking about, dying.
Yeah.
Really. I did think about, and I did do it actually, taking a will out, because I was actually getting the mortgage. I got a mortgage on the house. And so the mortgage was in my name, something that we'd always done really through our lives, because I was salaried. So I had a secure salary, whereas Roy was self-employed.
He's always self-employed.
He's always self-employed. So his wages could be hit and miss, really. And it was more difficult for him to get a mortgage. So I did the mortgages through the years. So the actual mortgage was in my name, so the house was in my name. So we had to just think about that, you know, what would happen if something happened to me. Only at that time, I mean, it wasn't something that we dwelt on. You know, we just more or less just cared.
Yeah. I'd say everyone does it like that. I would say, even if, as you said, even if you are thinking about coming over to retire in Spain, I think people think about the life in Spain, you know, rather than, you know, what would happen if you actually died while you're here in Spain.
I'm not sure if perhaps the person going doesn't think of it so much, but what if you were the kids and you were still in the UK?
They might think
They
about
might
it.
think
Yeah.
about it more, because they're going to be thinking, well, how am I going to deal with this?
Yeah.
So, you know, part of this episode is to explain, you know, what my mum did. But if you are here and you're watching this and your kids are in the UK, again, say what I said before, it's probably time to talk about
Yeah.
it.
Tell them the plan.
And say,
they
this
should
is what I'm
do.
planning to
Yeah.
do, and this is how you deal with it,
Yeah.
and make it straightforward. Because, you know, if you said somebody's gone to a foreign country and they're going to die, how is it going to be dealt with? That's a bit daunting, I would
Yeah.
think, especially if you've never been, you know, you've not lived here and stuff. Question 2. When you came over in 2005, so you're here, when did you decide, what made you decide to get a funeral plan?
Well, Jane's dad died.
Yeah.
And he was, I mean, before he died, he was seriously ill with cancer. And he really did suffer.
Yeah.
And so I think that started to make us think a little bit, because of his wife, who had been left behind, and she hadn't got a bank account or anything, things like that, really.
Yeah.
We really started to think, well, you know, what might happen next.
We were quite lucky. 2 shout outs here. So we were quite lucky because of my business. I had a Spanish business partner. So Carlos was my friend, and Carlos obviously is Spanish, knows a lot of things, and so Carlos was a good friend of Jeff's as well. So Carlos helped us a lot. So, you know, that was beneficial for us. So, you know, if you haven't got that, then making sure you do these funeral plans and things is so important for Jeff, because I was here to help and Carlos was here to help. But one quick shout out to is MABS.
MABS, yeah.
MABS, the cancer charity,
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic.
No, wow.
Jeff.
Let's see if we can get them on top.
Yeah, we need to try and get
Yeah.
one, because
Yeah, to them.
you know, that they were absolutely super. They helped with care,
That's true.
advice. You know, we had family here and things, so we could help a lot. But, you know, just having somebody that's remote from it, but can give you a professional help and opinion and advice on,
Yeah.
on things you can do is so important. And so, absolutely brilliant.
I mean, they did all the interpreting
Yeah.
at the hospital. They took him there in an extra, because of course eventually they couldn't go.
Yeah.
And so they were doing all of that, and they were.
And we, as a business, we sponsor. That's we always sponsored, and we're asked why don't you sponsor us? But we did as well. But MABS was always the main one,
Yeah.
and rightly so, because they're
Yeah, so
super.
DFS sponsored. They sponsored walk and all.
Yeah, I was actually we did do. Yeah, we sponsored that. Walk.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to support MABS, excuse me, they do loads of fundraising stuff. They have Facebook pages that you can go onto, and you can see they do like afternoon tea. I think they've got an afternoon tea and bingo and stuff coming up, and then they've got the Race for Life that they do as well. There's one here in San Javier, and there's one in Mazaron in this Mercy area. I think
So there's some further up. the coast.
there's more,
Yeah.
isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more.
I think they're effectively in every
Yeah.
big UK expat area, aren't they?
But if you just search MABS, so MABS, actually I'll link them in the show notes. But yeah, so you can check out their Facebook pages and all the fundraising that they do, so you can support them, because they're great.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, the thing was that as far as the funeral plans are concerned, even other people dying. I mean, we had an incident, and this is true, not a word of a lie. It was the fiesta in the village, and the English organised an international.
Elvis was there.
Elvis.
Uh-huh.
Elvis was in the building. Well, he was outside.
He was on the terrace.
I was on the terrace, and this is true, it was really hot, and the kids were throwing water bombs, which was great, because it's hot. And Elvis singing away, as he did, and boots-laid shoes and stuff. And then the floor got slippy, and we were driving, so we decided to go inside. So we all went inside, Now, Abby, who lived locally, came down to the bar, and he was a bit late. So bear in mind, everybody's in the bar. The aircon's on, the kids, everybody. He sat at the bar next to my husband, Roy, and he said it didn't feel too good. And suddenly he just slid off his stool and fell on the floor. Well, we had ex-nurses, doctors, all sorts of by chance. They weren't, said they were. And so they revived him, and he was a diabetic. And they thought he just had a shortage, you know. So they gave him sugar water, propped him back, he got back up on the bar, and ordered another drink. And the party carried on, and it was party, you know. And then he slipped again. Well, it's fine. And this time he was dead. Well, of course, everybody was in there, wasn't they? Everybody, the children, everybody. And he was laid on the floor. They decided he was dead. So then there was a bit of a panic. And then the doctor who had been there, they got in, somebody rushed out and got him. Brought it within, I don't know, half an hour, a coffin around.
Yeah.
And they put him in the coffin. Well, tried to, he was a big guy. Didn't fit him in. And, you know, honestly, it was, and Hilary, his partner, wasn't there. She hadn't come down. So then they had to contact Hilary. Well, Hilary had done absolutely nothing about anything again. So,
Not expecting it, huh?
and, you know, she just wasn't expecting it. No. He had trouble, he had trouble with his heart. But, so, you know, those incidents like that start you thinking, yeah, better do something. And also at the same time, the funeral company were doing a promotion, and they were, yeah.
Buy one, you get one free. I said, you buy one, you get one free. So much work going on at the same time.
They were in the village. They were in the village doing a promotion. And so...
Disappointing that vehicle, though, driving around in a hearse with stickers on the side. This could be you.
Well, I don't know whether it was anything to do with that. Because honestly, it was yesterday. It was a big event. I don't know. But anyway, they did this promotion, and I thought, oh, better get down there quick. They're all popping stuff.
So it was good marketing, and it worked.
So it worked. So they did a promotion, and it was quite good, really, because you didn't have to name.
Die.
No. You didn't have to name the person who was going to be.
Well, anybody on it.
No, you just pay. I think you just paid for it. So I didn't actually, when I took my first funeral planner, I didn't actually say, well, it's for me or it's for Roy. We just paid for a plan.
For one plan.
For one person, yeah. And didn't have to name.
So don't die like in a car crash. Because you have to choose which one. The other one's in a wheelbarrow.
Well, that's another thing, isn't it? But
they still do that, because I swear the other day, so they still do it. You do one policy between the two of you, and then the first person obviously uses that policy.
Yeah. So that was what, and for me it was fairly easy really. I was just paying monthly towards it, and it was just turning out as a direct debit. You know, I took it out, but I can't remember exactly how much it was for or anything like that.
There's different ones.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I knew I didn't want us singing or dancing religious or anything. But nonetheless, you know, I needed to cover everything, so I just took it out like that.
Yeah. And there are some. Do we want to mention this now? I can't remember where it is, but there are some, because it happens quite quickly in Spain. There are some plans that you can get to slow it all down, to make sure that you can get family to come over.
Yeah.
I don't know if that particular company does that, but I've seen other companies doing that, so that because it happens so quickly in Spain. Do you want to go into detail about now, or is it later on?
No.
Yeah, I can look at
What they do different. They gear that company particularly geared up to Brits, and there's a list of different things that you can do, and one of them is delay it so people can come here.
Yeah, because it's like
the first one is instant.
2 days and they're over.
The first one is instant. When I was reading it the other day, the first one, what we need to do really is get somebody to come on from Avalon.
Yeah.
Travel, speak to Avalon and see if they'll come on.
Be great, because we can't go into all that detail, you know, but we do know that there are a general idea of what they offer. That you know, if you need your family to come over and that, well, you can do different plans to
You can
slow it
have
down.
you have to. The thing is, when they take the body to the crematorium, traditionally they would do it the day after.
Yeah, in Spain
Straight
it's like
away.
2
Okay,
days,
so
isn't
they
it?
have
Yeah.
First available slot,
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah.
It has to be after a post-mortem, so as long as there's
Yeah,
no,
there's no
for somebody who's expecting to die of something, it'd be probably very, very quick.
super quick. It's
So you
really
have
quick.
to pay for the additional days in the freezer.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what you're paying.
Yeah.
Because it's like when they pass away, then usually they go to the sanatorium in the evening and families can come and they can, pay their
Yeah.
respects and just be there
Do the
for the
body
people.
if they
Yeah.
want to.
And then the next day, they're cremated. And it's to do it like obviously the heat in Spain, which is traditionally where the kind of the speed came from. In Ireland, it's usually around, I would say, 5 days, more or less. But in the UK, it's like it can
Some
be
of the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It can be months. I don't know whether it's just which undertaker you're using or whether there's a delay in the system if they do have to have a post-mortem, but it can be 2 months.
very long, isn't it?
And
Very
people
long.
are very in limbo.
Yeah, it drags on.
Because they're not, they're not, it's a long, long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think in Ireland it's a good timeline. But for me, in Spain, it feels very quick. Just feels
Yeah.
It is very quick.
too quick or something.
It's
I don't
just
know
very
why.
quick.
And in Ireland, it's like I think you need because during the whole funeral, well, certainly in Ireland experience, it's like your family is around you constantly for the whole proceedings. Whether it's the mass and we're religious, so like the mass in the evening times, or when where the body is. When my nanny was in her house, so we were all in the house together, and then you've got the day of the funeral, and then you've got like the meal afterwards, and it just kind of because it's going on for 4 or 5 days, the family's all together.
You get used to the idea.
Yeah.
I mean, here, it's so quick.
Just for the record, I am slightly claustrophobic, okay? So when it happens to me, girls, I want to go really fast. Just in case I'm still in there.
Do you want to get one of those coffins that has like a little bell?
No, I just
Do you ever
want
see
I
those?
want to be done.
Do you ever see that in Ireland you've got like, because I did like a ghost tour trip in Ireland, you can do like this bus trip,
Oh, yeah.
and it's like goes you around and tells you like all different ghost stories of people who died and stuff. And there's one, because you'll notice that like back in the day, because they didn't have the knowledge and stuff they have now, some people would seem like they'd passed away, but they hadn't actually died. And so they started making coffins with like a string on the inside, and so it comes out. So you ring the bell if you're actually still alive, and they come and get you. So you can get one of those if you want, just in case.
It's a good thing for snoring, isn't it? Good job. You do snore. There's a reason for not stopping snoring. I don't know if you think of one.
Well, that's why they
Yeah.
have the mask and Josh's wears,
Yeah.
sleep apnea.
Christ.
That's what happens.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so girls, I want instantly. I've
You
got
like
the next
the-
20 minutes.
You like the Spanish
Just get me
speed.
in, straight in that thing.
Yeah. Well, it is, yeah. It's something to really point out because I don't think people realize it, So it's moving on from funeral plans. But yeah, the whole idea of talking about that bit there was just that, if you don't want it to be so fast, there are companies that can provide a funeral plan. I imagine they cost extra, so they can slow the process down.
Yeah.
Not too long, but they
Yeah.
can slow it a bit down. So if you want family
Give
to
time
come,
for people.
yeah. So then the next thing to ask you a little bit about is, did you take out a will in Spain and in England?
Well, we made wills in Spain. We both made wills. And basically, I mean, they were quite straightforward, really, quite simple wills, because, and again, related to just having one child, really. So first and foremost, my will, everything was going, if I died before Roy, everything was going to Roy, and Roy was leaving everything, if he's down, he was leaving everything to Paul. And then after that, his 2 grandchildren. So our timeline, if you like, our family line is quite small, really. It's not complicated. So we both took one out saying that same thing. We didn't have any assets in England as such, not really. But recently I have taken out an English will. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what happens when I die, but of course I won't be here, so I don't know, but really, but whether it's valid.
We don't know. Maybe you will know.
But in England, in March and October, companies will do free wills. So something like the RSPCA or Battersea Jobs or other companies provide this free will service, and you basically complete the will, you get signatures for it, you send a copy of it to them, and you have a copy yourself. And so it's pretty straightforward. But I think you'd have to get somebody on talking about wills specific, because it is different in Spain. As it was, I was leaving the house to Roy, for instance, but I do believe that it naturally goes to children first. Your assets go to children first.
Yeah.
And then the...
So Alex said, we were talking about this episode with Alex, my other half, and he's Spanish, and he said it would just go, to your child. And then obviously if the child is underage, well then whatever parent is still alive would be a good guardian, but it automatically goes down to your children. But anyway, we don't know, that's not official, but that's what...
I mean, as it happened when Roy died, more or less everything was in my name. The only thing that wasn't was the club bag, because Paul bought him the club bag for his birthday, so it was in his name. But we'd always done everything, but it was all in my name. So then, of course, there was no issue about
I mean, one thing about that, if you do have somebody with a serious illness, it may well be worth changing things into the other person's name before the person dies, just to make it more straightforward.
Yeah.
Because that's what we had to do with Jeff, was that everything was in Jeff's name, and so Esther effectively wasn't entitled to get access to very much without a lawyer being involved to change anything. So that's something to think about. Is anything you can change?
Yeah.
Change if you know due to illness that there's something like that. I did my will through an insurance company. They helped with the will writing, and then they took me to the notary, and the notary was signed. The great thing about the wills in Spain is you get them notarized, and they go into effectively a central pot. And so it doesn't matter where you go in the country, you can go into any notary, and then you can get access. Obviously after the person's died, but the will is available throughout the country from any notary. When my dad started to get, he'd had various illnesses previous, but when it was sort of obvious that this was a serious illness and probably life-threatening, how were they diagnosed, and then how were they treated at that point? This is not really to do with the death, this is more the care.
Yeah, well, like you say, Roy did have some quite important, serious things wrong with him, really, when we came out to Spain. And that was something else, to be honest, that we thought about, but we didn't dwell on it, really. Well, Roy never did, really, did they?
No.
My dad never did.
This is pre-Brexit. That's an important thing, because obviously the situations will be different.
Yeah, that's actually really important.
Yeah.
Because we just came out as pensioners, entitled to healthcare, like every other pensioner in Spain. But at first Roy was a bit sort of we had a problem with the language. We go back to that again. It's always there, isn't it? And Roy was a diabetic, and he had to have insulin injections, and he also had pernicious anemia. When we first went to talk to the doctor about pernicious anemia and B12 injections, he was a lovely doctor, we really liked him, but they'd never heard of it. And so I had to go back home and gather all, not home to the UK, back to my house, and gather all the paperwork I had about pernicious anemia. And I took it to the doctor, he was all in English, of course. And he was great. He investigated it. And apparently it isn't as much of an issue in Spain. I don't know whether it's to do...
Son, I imagine. Yeah, I imagine it's the son.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's something that Spanish people don't seem to get, whether it's skin colour or anything, I don't know. It's a well-known complaint in the UK. In fact, in Victorian times, it used to kill people because basically what happens is, this is basically, your blood's not being oxygenated. And so the blood supply concentrates on the major organs. So the extremities, like your mouth, your fingers, your feet, you do become affected. So you could have tingling in your fingers and feet, which never goes away, nerve damage really. You could get stars on your eyes, mouth ulcers, hemorrhoids, fissures, all sorts to do with the extremities that weren't getting the...
And your hair doesn't right.
And your hair goes, it takes the colour out of your head.
My dad, just a little bit of stuff, my dad had been going into hospital for other things in the UK. He had an operation with his hand and things. And he said he was not feeling well.
What did he come up?
And it just happened to be one doctor that knew about pernicious anemia and said to him, has your hair always been that colour? And he said, no, it's gone like this very quickly recently. And he said, you've got pernicious anemia. You know, like somebody knew what it was.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So he had to have these B12 injections, which are very inexpensive. And of course, he had to have insulin. So initially, he used to go back to the UK because he was insecure about, getting the right treatment here. I'd said to him at the time, no, we've got to persist with this. So we took interpreters with us. And he ended up here going to the diabetic clinic in San Andreas in Murcia, and they were great with him. I mean, he still couldn't speak any Spanish, but he smiled a lot, and he was quite good looking really, so he was quite charming. They liked him, So he had to fill all the forms and everything else, which we did. And then he had to go back every 3 months to the hospital there. So we were quite used to hospitals, really. And as I say, we were taking interpreters with us. So when I started not being well, first of all, the main symptom, because it was prostate cancer, was that he was always peeing. He was always going to the loo. And every time, I remember saying to, because you see it on the television, and I remember saying to, you're going to the loo a lot. We never bothered about the things, really. Anyway, eventually, I said to him, you're going to have to go and have a test, because it was on the television. So he went to the hospital and we did a biopsy. We had an enlarged prostate. Obviously, he had an X-ray and an enlarged prostate. And then they did a biopsy. And it was cancerous. He had a growth and it was cancerous. They thought that it might have spread a tiny little bit into his back. So this was at the hospital, this was at Arasaka. But they said, with prostate, and again said, luckily, specialists at specialist level, they mainly did speak English. So although we took an interpreter, we could have a conversation ourselves. And, they said many people died with it, not because of it. So there was no panic at that stage. This was around about 2011. And so they started giving him injections, which were hormone injections, which was to reduce the testosterone, which was making the tumour grow. And it worked. I mean, he had terrible symptoms straight away after he'd had the injection because he had hot sweats. It was estrogen, really. He had hot sweats. Boobs grew a bit. And he got a bit plumper. But other than that, he was fine. And the specialists were great. The hospital was great. And he just had to go back twice a year for the injections. So he had that for, about 2016 it was, when when he had the X-rays again to see what was happening with the tumour. They could see it was growing. So the injection had stopped working. That's when one thing that did happen was that because it was growing, it was pressing against his urethra. And when he went to pee, some of it was coming away, but some of it was going up into his cavity here. So he had to have an operation to shave the tumour. I mean, very stoical through it all, actually. He wouldn't tell anybody, or let anybody know. He didn't want people to treat him differently. So nobody had any idea.
Didn't tell me.
So they then started to try various chemotherapies with him. And I must say that again, they tried so many different ones. Money was no object. I know that some of them were costing thousands, some of the injections. And a new one would come and they would try it. We were going to the cancer hospital section of the hospital in Osaka. The specialists were young and it was quite good really, because, it's a different system in the hospital, isn't it? The specialists are very chatty, you talk to them, they wear jeans, the whole thing is different, isn't it, to the English hospital. Ray was very comfortable with going, but of course the chemotherapy itself made him very sick. First week or so, it did take it out of him.
That's when it became more obvious that he was seriously driver-side.
Yeah.
But he liked going out. He liked social. He was very social. So he'd have a week where he couldn't go out, and people sort of understood, he was feeling it bad. But then the other 3 weeks, he'd be out partying, and then he'd do it again.
Yeah, he did. I
think that is a lot of how long he lived for. He did not give up. He did not stay in his house and wait for the next injection. He wouldn't go out if he felt he couldn't go out. Well, as soon as he could, he went.
He went down.
Carried on.
I mean, we still went on. In fact, the specialist said to us, I said to him, I think the specialists were great, but this young one particularly, I said to him, "What do I have to do anything different?" He said, "Don't do anything different. If you go on holiday, go on holiday. Okay, that first week, whilst your body's, because it's a poison really, it is chemotherapy. Whilst your body's adjusting, it's great. And diarrhea particularly, I mean, that's what we don't tell me, but really, that's one of the worst bits of it. For the person, not for anybody else, Kevin. I mean, that's a lie.
Yeah, but feeling like you can't stray too far.
No, that's it. But we still went on holiday. We went to Benidorm. But, we didn't go as far as we might.
It was like I am, as far as you just never know if tomorrow somebody invents something.
Yeah.
So keep trying.
That's
to
what I
find
always
it.
say. Yes.
You just never know. Somebody
Nowadays,
somebody will one day. Somebody will. They'll try a tablet and then it'll work.
Yeah.
That's what you've got to keep in your mind.
Yeah, starting to see little stories now about, it's specific types of cancer, isn't it? Like this medicine is starting to work for this type of cancer.
It's like AIDS. AIDS was the end of the world when I was a kid, it really was. That got sorted, so somebody's going to do it at some point.
And especially in a hospital like Murcia, I was Osaka, please.
It's for anybody that doesn't live in this area. It's a university hospital, so they have the trial machines there. They send people for training there, and they're all over the country. It's not just this one.
I was going to say, Arasaka is really highly regarded when it comes to cancer treatment. It's one of the best, I think, of the country. Yeah.
So, but, like you just said, there will be university hospitals probably in every major city, I would think, and so there is the facility for really good equipment and really experienced people, and with a lot of in the medical world. Experienced experts teach the younger ones, but they're based in that hospital. So you've got like some real top surgeons who are resident at this hospital.
Great hospital.
I mean, one of the ladies in our core, well, two of them actually, had stroke. Had brain aneurysm. One of my friends was on the golf course. They could tell there was something wrong. She was having a stroke. They rang, the hospital, the ambulance service. They came. They were doing stuff with her in the ambulance for a stroke. By the time she got to hospital, they rushed her down to surgery, and they got rid of the clot. She's fine, absolutely fine. Another friend of mine had this brain aneurysm, and they took part of their schoolwork to make sure that they actually got all the bleed away and everything. And, I'm not saying she's not perfect now, but she's a lot better than she was going to be.
Yeah.
And they kept this part of the skull alive. I mean, it's incredible when they put it back. So the treatment can be fantastic.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think it was for Roy because, as I said, they were trying there. I think possibly because of his approach to it, they could see that he wasn't giving up.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, obviously, eventually, it spread, and then the pain is just incredible, really. And the only thing that seems to be able to help is morphine. Well, to administer the morphine, you have to have palliative care. By the time you get to having big doses of morphine. So the palliative care team used to come to the house. By this stage, Roy his balance had gone. It had got into his spine and his legs, and he was falling quite a bit. But as I said, they came to the house, and I was determined to learn Spanish, and I was learning it quite well, really. But I still felt insecure about, you know, what I was hearing and everything. So I still had an interpreter. And they would talk to him as well, and they'd send him messages. They were great.
Can I just ask, was the palliative care that you're talking about, was that part of the normal healthcare here in Spain, or was it private?
No, it's team
great.
that come out. And I think basically it is about administering morphine, really. At that stage, there's not much else they can do for you, but they will come to your home. And when I say a team, I mean it was 2 nurses and a doctor.
And that's where, again, MABS and there are other charities here that do sort of help at home and things like that. But, you know, their role, one of their main roles is to help people who are ill in the house. So you can hire or borrow rather than hire beds that people in the lounge things like that.
Yeah.
And they will literally come and sit with somebody.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's the support, not just for the person who has cancer, but for the family members as well, you know.
You know, if you are over here on your own as a couple and one of you is ill, you know, you still need to go out and do shopping. You need
you might have to go out and do that.
Yeah.
But the other thing, the specialist himself, he said to me, if there's something you're not sure about, ring me. And he gave me his phone number, and I did ring him. You know, I rang him once or twice because in the end, of course, Roy's bowels and bladder stopped working. And I said, you know, he's not meant to live for sort of 4 or 5 days. And I had conversations with him, which helped really, you know, because Roy had to have an enema and stuff. And so, and the chemists were fabulous because they were very well, because I was getting all the medication and everything from them. And they would say, you know, and this was just a little chemistry thing, how is he dealing with the pain? You know, you can ask for this for pain, you can ask for this.
They'll know, won't they? We'll see some people.
Yeah. And they, you know, the whole system was great, actually.
So did you ever feel at any point like you would have preferred to be back in the UK? Was there any point?
I mean, to be honest, I haven't had a lot of experience of people dying in the UK anyway. My mum died when she was very young, but I was a kid, you know, so I don't know. I'd be past
I suppose in your head it's like when you're thinking and you want to ask somebody a question.
Yeah.
You know, you think, I wish I could speak Spanish, which is going to be the answer. But if you're in the UK, you know, you're ringing and there's somebody there that speaks English, I suppose that's one thing.
Yeah.
How did they decide and who decided that it was time for him to go into hospital?
Well, he did. It was just by chance, it was really. We were supposed to be going for a few days in the hotel in Los Alcázares. I mean, even at that stage where he was going out, he could barely walk, if you remember, because we went into Murcia, didn't we? He had a wheelchair and he was struggling. That was early May. And we decided to go to the hotel for a few days. So I had friends staying at mine who were going to look after our animals. And the night that they arrived, he was in agony, absolute agony, and nothing worked. The morphine patches, he had patches, and morphine tablets, nothing was working. He really having it. So I took him to Arasaka, and the specialist had said that if it gets too much, bring it to the hospital. So I took him to the hospital, not expecting him to die there, to be honest, if I'm honest. And they kept him in the holding ward, that round ward.
Yeah, well, they were full, weren't they, the hospital?
Yeah, the hospital was full. And then they admitted him. But of course, in order to reduce the pain, they had to up the morphine. And so they kept up in the morphine. They put him on a catheter. He was struggling to get to the liver. And he was rambling.
Well, at that point, because the pain was reduced, they wanted to go home. Because he was in this ward, it was more like a ward. So it happens to be a circle, but it was, lots of different people in for different reasons, all effectively being analysed before they get put where they want to go. And it was noisy, it was active all the time, because people were coming in, going out, 24 hours a day. So you couldn't sleep properly, so they wanted to go home then. And sort of, when your dad says that to you, I'll go and ask, and they sort of said to me, he's not going home, and that was like, well, so you can't say that to him. So no, they've got to do more tests and things, and then they found him a room, didn't they? They got him a really nice room on his own, on the floor.
Yeah. I mean, they thought I'd put him in a hole at one stage because he was rambling a bit. But the pain, and then the morphine.
The medication and the pain.
The morphine, So, so then they put him on, I mean, it was the cancer floor in the hospital. And we put him in, well, he was in a room with somebody else to start.
Yeah, first he went to a room with somebody else, because he was adamant he wanted to go to the loo on his own. I was still with him in the chair. And so he stood up and he stood by the bed and he walked around, and he had a man next to him, and he was the furthest from the loo. And as he walked past him, the man's foot was on the footboard, and he grabbed his toe, just holding on, and this man leapt up in the air. Because this bloke had just grabbed him by the foot as he walked past.
So he was grabbing the end of the bed or something.
And walked past and went back. And then I think it was the next day to that, I actually moved him into a room on his own at the end.
They moved him into a room on his own, and then they put the morphine machine there, and they
told us, didn't they? They took us to one side and said, have you any idea? And this is when you realise how professional they are and how good at what they're doing. They said he's now got probably 6 to 8 hours.
Wow.
To know that, it was, from his readings, that's what he's got. I mean, it was within that time.
Oh, God.
And then they put an extra bed in so that we could sleep. Because I stayed there the whole of that week. And they put an extra bed in so that we could actually sleep. Because normally what happens in hospital, certainly in Arasaka, there are only 2 people in a ward. In a ward, it's a room, isn't it? And there's always a bathroom in there, 2 people, and there's a couchette type thing where you can sleep. So that it's expected that the families will stay in the hospital with the people and nurse them. The care that people get from the nursing staff, if that's what it calls them, is really about medical care, so they'll take your blood pressure, they'll, check your catheter, they do all that, give you the medication, but they don't nurse you.
Yeah, and people who are going to, get you a glass of water if you need it, or anything like that, you need to go around for a walk if you can. It's your family.
And I think he's done. It's not wasting money on something that, spending the money on the professionals, and the ones that, the experts.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're on your own, if you live on your own in Spain, and you haven't got your family here, if you're an expat and you haven't got your family here, you do have to think about that, because who is going to do that for you? To be fair, they will do it.
Yeah, and they wouldn't let you just lie around, but it's not something you can rely on, and that's where these charities come in, and that's when
I was going to say they also.
See, I'll go home and we'll put the names on.
There's loads. Yeah.
They are, and they've set up to do that, to cover that gap.
I think that's really helpful to tell them to people, because you might end up on your own here in Spain just by chance because your partner dies or whatever, you know. So I mean, I've got lots of friends who are on their own, and so they do need to know there is some organisation. So then when we were in the actual cancer ward, and so there was a room there with equipment for the families, weren't there, to microwave.
It was done by a Spanish cancer organisation. They effectively set up like a, how would you describe it? Like a common room? A tea and coffee machine,
Comfy
and
chairs,
magazines, chairs.
just have a break because, you know, like me, because they were living there.
Yeah.
For the room.
I think I'll look it up. I think it's the AECC, the Association Española contra Cáncer. I think it's, well, I'll look it up because I write about them a lot. So I'll put it also in the show notes because they are great and they do a lot of fundraisers as well. So it's worth supporting them too. They're really good. When Roy was admitted to hospital, I mean, we've been speaking a lot about the treatment and care and how great it was, but did you ever feel like it was, I don't know, better or worse because you were a foreigner? Did you ever feel different in the hospital at all?
I was very impressed with the care. All the way through, I've been really impressed with the care that I had. And
I feel that it's so professional. I don't think it matters who you are, where you are, what you are. You know, that they're dealing with a human being, and that's what they're dealing with. And even that's not just the doctors. Even the person that brings around the meals and stuff. They don't seem to care who you are. You know, I mean, obviously you're going to get bad days and grumpy days, but from our experience, and not just with my dad, with Hazel, when Hazel was in, when Lynn was in, you know, all right, you might not like the food because you don't like the hospital food, but it's not because anybody's maliciously making you something different to anybody else, you know.
Because sometimes I think you see comments on Facebook and stuff about people thinking that maybe they didn't get the treatment they should have gotten because they were foreigners. But I think it is that knowledge about that gap that they kind of, Spanish families are usually really present in hospitals. And so I think it's just that not having that knowledge of, they kind of think that your family is going to be there in the hospital with you. You know, I think it's just that maybe.
The system won't be geared up to, will it? If 99% of the time you don't need this, that, you're not going to just have something sitting there just in case somebody might need it.
But I mean, I've had a few friends in there, you know, I'm sure what I'm saying, Molly, Enid, Jerry, people who have nobody, no other family here. And, you know, they've been given the food. Somebody's helping to eat the food. They've been given the care, you know. So it is different, and the expectations are different.
And it's going to, the men as well, because they're not geared up to it. I've never thought about this before, but it's going to be fast. Because, you know, if they're helping you eat, they'll help you eat, then they need to do it for somebody else or go and do the job. You know, they're not just there for that job because those people are not there. So don't think that as a negative. Just think this person is doing something quite quickly because they've got to be doing something else. More is
it's not their job.
Yeah, it's not their job.
Yeah. I mean, on the plus side, you get fresh bedding every day. You wear hospital pajamas or nightwear, you know, and that's fresh every day. Things like that. You've got your own bathroom, toilets are there. You know, it's a lot to be said for it, actually. But it is different.
Yeah, it's different. And so I just think it's that, you know, it's these conversations, whilst they're difficult conversations, they're just important to have, aren't they? Because you're just pointing out those little differences that people maybe aren't aware of because you've never had to think about it before, you know. So if you do have to go to the hospital or you do have anything wrong with you, well, there are little differences and usually there's a reason why. You know, usually in Spain, they're just really big families, aren't they? And they support each other.
And the families are expect to stay the night, stay overnight, which might mean the television's on for a lot longer. Seriously, you know, or they're chatting.
Yeah.
During the next bed, you know, because it's true.
There are two sides to it. I mean, no one thought about that. It's like we're thinking, oh, they're there because they have to be. In a Spanish family, in a lot of cases, they're there because they want to be.
They want to be, yeah.
It's not like who's going to go tonight. You know, it's like we're all going tonight.
Yeah.
You know, and they're there because they want to be.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? Yeah.
Which is great. You know, so that's what that's what creates.
Actually, all the spills into, you know, what happens to people when they get old, because the families cared for the family.
Yeah.
You know, that's why there are very few relatively old folks' homes, you know, or nursing homes and things like that, because actually the family do the caring for the older people.
Sometimes they'll stay in the similar house, won't they?
Yeah.
You may see like the house set up sometimes. Like I know people who have the family kind of owns like the block from this side of the street to the other side of the street, if you know what I mean. So it's like an apartment upstairs and an apartment downstairs, and then on the other side there's an apartment upstairs and an apartment downstairs, and it's all the same family that lives in it, you know. So
Carlos's family like that. They've got effectively a block of apartments. But one's a brother, the other one was the mother and father, one was, you know, in the one block.
So it means then the parents or, you know, the older relatives could stay there for much longer because they're coming down from upstairs to downstairs to have dinner together and, you know, all that kind of thing, you know. Yeah.
So it's just, you know, it's a different life together.
So, you know, for me, you know, my argument to it all would be, you know, in any country, there is a limited amount of money supplied to the health system and you know, I'm the same with the education system, but the health system, you spend it on the important things, you know, and try
your machines and your treatments and your all this.
Become the best in the world.
And like Spain, as a lot of places are now, is an aging population, you know, so there's going to be more and more and more old people. So they're going to need that support more than ever, you know. Yeah.
So when my dad did the welfare, my dad died, and I remember that the coroner had to come in, didn't he, to do
I mean, it was pretty straightforward, actually, wasn't it? The funeral company came before he died.
Yeah.
Because the specialist had said he would die.
Yeah.
And they're standing there. I don't think we had to call them, did they? I can't remember now. But we called
No, I think I called them, and they came, and, you know, I rose in a corner then, the stage agent who called me. And they said, and the specialist said to them, it will be today, you know, and that sort of thing. So a lot of the arrangements we sort of briefly discussed before I died, actually, about what would happen, whether we wanted people to come over from the UK, because, you know, because they said he won't come out of this. You could have notified people in the UK, really. We didn't, as it happened. Nobody was coming on. I contacted my sister to come. So before I died, a lot of the arrangements, and it would happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know.
We do need to get Avalon. So Avalon, if you're listening, we need to get somebody on to come and talk about that, because obviously we can only talk about the experiences and like that. But I'm sure that
they must have contacted the crematorium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to know the process.
Yeah. And also, if there's some flexibility, you know, like just retaining that. We sort of said that we knew nobody would be coming. But, you know, you might think that, like I said, you know, I might think I don't want anybody, but, you know, the family might think it would be nice if other people came. And can you change the plans slightly at that point, you know, because you're thinking about it remotely 2 or 3 years, 10 years before what you're going to do.
In the moment.
When it actually happens, are you going to feel the same? So, yeah,
I think that'd be useful, actually, because, I mean, from our point of view, I mean, Roy died, within like 10 minutes, really. He was in the body bag.
Goodness.
It was as fast as they could see him dying. And then, of course, we had to leave. It was just...
And that's when they dealt with it all from that point. Didn't they? So they then got him taken to the local territorium, which was organised.
What's tanatoria in English? Tanatorium, is that straight?
In English, no, crematorium.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Tanatorium. A mixture of words.
Crematorium. So that was organised, and then effectively said it would be next day.
I don't think I've ever been to a crematorium out of Spain. Are they different?
I've never been to
not very.
No, similar.
Not very, you know, not very.
Because I don't think you can you live buried in Spain?
I think there will be close.
I think it might depend on the area of Spain you're in. Yeah, and related to the heat,
I
I
think
imagine.
it's related to the heat.
Yeah.
I don't know whether we had the discussion about do you want to be buried or cremated. I don't know. I mean, we always wanted to be cremated. In fact, we were donating our bodies initially to Alicante, to a hospital there in Alicante. I found out all about it, and we were donating. And I've forgotten that bit. And when I became ill with cancer, I contacted them and said, would you still want, if I die, you still want, this was right, I talked about it. And they said, no, if it's got cancer. Before, when it was a diabetic, and that was fine. Anyway, well, obviously. So, I mean, it was fast. Yes, fast.
Yeah.
It happened the day after.
We're, as a family, we're not religious. And so, we have more of sort of hymns and things. Playing some music. We talked about his life.
I did his eulogy because I got time to write it. We played his favourite songs, and he had a huge gorilla. And I can't tell you.
Plastic 6, more than 6 foot, 8 feet, sorry. On the gorilla thing.
Gorilla. So we sat the gorilla. I mean, this is what I like about Spanish people. They're just, okay.
Yeah.
We need a seat for the gorilla. Actually, 2 seats. And they all fell on. So, okay, let's think
Yes, the coffin. Got to.
And everybody came in Hawaiian shirts.
Oh, yeah.
To make it a Gary.
I went to the funeral, but I wore a black dress. And then when I got there, I was like the only person wearing black.
Yeah.
I think everyone had worn colour.
He's what he wanted.
And I think I've been to Spanish funerals, I've been to Spanish funerals. I've been, it's very matter of fact. And people are just coming from work for half an hour. So, just to, and it was full, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then we all didn't know how to start away, kept the bar nearby, and then everybody came to that. And then it was, we would have loved it, actually, because everybody was there and we would time. Then, of course, you have to let people know. You should let, you let people like the pension people and tax and things like that, which I didn't do, actually. I got fined for not letting you know I am dead. They didn't pay tax. They'd never paid tax in it. That's where it's useful to have, so you've got the will obviously, but that's where it's useful to have a lawyer working just to make sure that everything
all those little bits.
You collect the ashes, you have to pay for collecting the ashes. And this was not just my experience, it could be different for other people. You collected the ashes the day after. So he died on the Thursday, by Sunday, it was all over. So you call the ashes and everything. So it's fast. It's massive to get your head around. That's the only thing I can say is that Roy would have loved every minute of it, actually, because he just thought it was great. It wasn't the way they did. And the way the village responded, we did the way they put the huge fire and bread and red wine. Perfect, really. Yeah. And they could do that fast as well, because they didn't have a lot of time. No, just not really.
Yeah. They must be, I guess, used to it, how it is in Spain.
That's right.
Let's get it sorted. Yeah. I've been to a few funerals in Spain. Alex's side of the family, people have passed away. And so if you are religious, of course, you can do the whole church ceremony, and it links up. So you go to the crematorium of the town. Does every town have one, I think, doesn't it?
At least one.
At least one, yeah. And then, of course, they link up with the church, and so you arrange to move between the two places and stuff like that. So you can do it that way if you are religious. I personally, I'm not religious, but my family is. So, the whole thing is usually religious. Yeah. So you can do it that way if you want to do it that way. And it's pretty similar to, I don't know what it's like in the UK, but it's pretty similar to how it is in Ireland, just quicker.
Yeah. Well, then maybe probably about a month later, Avalon contacted me and to see if everything went smoothly. And then, of course, they said, right, well, you've used that money up now. That pot. Do you want to take another one out? Which is great, because, of course, then you think, perhaps better.
Yes.
So I see, I get you. So you buy a policy, but it didn't matter. You who passed away or Roy who passed away. I get you.
Yeah, they still do that. I've seen that.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah,
Well,
of course, you don't
we're
know.
getting somebody on to do a
Yeah,
podcast.
you don't
Show
know who's
people
going
what's
to
on.
grow. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so for our final question, but we have here, as it's such an important, big topic, we're going to change our usual last question from one piece of advice. So,
stick to it last time.
no.
You
So I
invented
guess-
3 pieces.
Yeah, I was going to say, so we adapted it to Sue, really.
And we got to get from 45 minutes to 1 hour and 45 minutes.
wow.
So here's the last bit.
So it's, what 3 pieces of advice would you give to people living in Spain in relation to care and ultimately dying?
Well, I think before you come, it's just probably wise to talk about what might happen. You know, what might happen if one of you dies.
I'll see your family as well.
Yeah.
You know, because I honestly believe that, you know, if your family is still in the whole country, that they're going to be thinking about that.
Yeah, as soon as you
And
move.
how you're going to deal with it, you know, when you're not in the same country or they're not in the same country
Yeah.
and a different language. So you really have to talk about it.
Yeah, I think you do have to have that
So it's a time to talk about it because there's nothing wrong with it. You won't be going for something.
Yeah.
So,
And you can help it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say talk about it. I think then that you need to plan for it because, like I was living in the middle of nowhere. You know, if I'd have stayed there, it could have been me actually. If it had been me, it would have been far more complicated for life.
Yeah.
I mean, because nothing was in his name, you know.
You're going to be, when, you know, again, so talking about it before you come, and as soon as you come, particularly the will, it's sort of will at that point, because you're going to be dealing with buying a house and
Yeah.
doing all that. So incorporate that. I want to sort out my will at the same time so that your will's sorted as well. I mean, obviously things could change before you die, but at that point, if you get that process in place, you know how to do the will and who you're going to use to help you do the will. Therefore, if you've got amendments to the will, you can go back to the same person and do it again.
And do you have to keep paying if you want to update your will?
Yeah, you have to effectively
Notarize it.
re-notarize it. It's not long. And you're not going to do it that many times.
Admin fees or whatever.
Yeah. So, but you'll have the contact and all the information will be in that place. You know, you just bought a house, so that the details of that need to go on it. You probably just bought a car, the details of that need to go on it. And the pensions you've got and things. Do it all at that point. Don't leave it too long. It's fresh in your mind. All the information's there. You're using a lawyer anyway because you're doing the house purchase. So, you know, I
Get all
would
the
suggest
paperwork
doing that.
just over and done with.
Well, I don't think you can forget it. I think you have to keep looking at it to see if you do need to update it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, you know, things can change, can't they?
And don't, all I'm trying to say is don't say, oh, I know I might not live here for 3, I'm thinking this is temporary, I'll live here for 3 years, I'll do it when I'm in my final house that I'm settled with. You know, you better just changing the address in 3 years' time than not doing it. Because if something happens in them 3 years, you don't know will, you know.
Yeah, that's right. And I think family, you know, it's to involve your family, your next of kin, because they're going to be the ones who have to sort it. If say you're on your own, or you might have husband who's elderly or a wife who's elderly who are not really up to it. You know, if you live alone.
It's something that we've done, you know, my mum's married, you know, the only person here, and I'm her only son, so, you know, she's told me where she's put things, what she's done, you know, and so that's...
Every time I go for dinner with my mum and dad, they're like, now don't forget, in the, I can't remember, in the drawer, in the spare bedroom, in the whatever, we have everything there. I'm like, right, okay.
I mean, I think about it. I think about, you know, code, you know, passwords, things like that.
Yeah.
How would you access all that if you haven't written it down somewhere?
Yeah.
How would you actually literally get into my phone, for instance,
Yeah.
or into my bank account, you know, online? How would you do it?
Well, we've already dealt with the bank account. We're going to do that. I'm a named person on the bank account, so I can't access that.
Yeah. But if you're coming from the UK, you'd have to have an NIE to do anything.
Yeah.
Children, you know, next of kin.
Yeah.
Not little children, you know. They'd have to have an NIE.
Yeah.
I mean, like some of my friends live here on their own, and their children in the UK are next of kin. they couldn't do anything without an NIE unless they got a solicitor to do it.
But if you want to get the inheritance, you need an NIE.
You do.
Yeah,
That's what Belinda said last time.
Yeah, power of
You could do
attorney.
that.
You give the power of attorney to the
Responsibility.
solicitor to do everything for you. But obviously they would charge. And so, you know, there's a lot really. If you think about yourself as a person, what you do in your life and everything, all the things you do automatically, you know, why? Like passwords. How would you close a Facebook account? Well,
Yeah.
It's not other big matters, but if you don't do it, it comes up year after year. I mean, diet, my friend has Brian is still coming up.
It's unsettling, isn't it, when they appear as well? But there is a way you can go into Facebook from behind, and you can, you can write to Facebook through that section and tell them to deactivate the account. But there is a way to do it, because it really is unsettling, isn't it, when someone has passed away, their account pops up on the screen.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You know, it's just changed, isn't it? It's to do with technology.
Yeah.
It's
You get
technology.
you get a copy of the death certificate here, and that you need that for a lot.
To
of
send it
things.
to loads of
Go
it, yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to take it, physically have to take it.
Yeah.
I would say, talk about it, planning, organise it.
Yeah. Very good.
So that was sort of not our interpretation, but our experience so far. And obviously, every situation for anybody is going to be different. But the important thing is, like I say, that we've said all the way through, is talk about it while it's all right to talk about.
Yeah.
Organise as much as possible, because that will help everybody in the future. Good luck with it all.
Yeah. Thank you very much, both of you, for talking about it. You've done very well, I have to say. You're very good.
Yeah.
Well done.
I'm sorry if it's been a little bit light-hearted, but sometimes that's how we deal with it.
Yeah, everyone
And
deals
so
with
did my
things
dad.
differently.
My dad would,
Yeah.
if my dad was watching this, he would enjoy the laughing bits.
Yeah.
Far more than the serious bits, definitely.
Yeah, that's everyone is different in that area.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, everyone has their way of
And
talking about it and dealing with it. Yeah.
It's like years now. So.
And watch,
10 years, isn't it?
I mean, don't forget, young house.
and then just a thing about that is, if you watch this one, also watch the one that my mum talked about retiring in Spain, because the two are interlinked.
Yeah.
As far as, what you do, what you can do after, what you can do before.
Yeah.
But making those friends before one of you dies, that become friends with both of you, is really important to help you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Thank you for listening, and please don't forget to subscribe. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music. So please subscribe to those. It doesn't cost you anything. It just helps us get higher up in the rankings, so more people will see it. The more people that see it, we can get more guests on things. So please, and write us a review if you like it, or write us a review if you don't like it. I prefer if you do like it. It really helps, honestly. So thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you.